From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, October 7th, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.97 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,153 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $246. Antiwar.com reports in the 8 days since the Taliban took over the northern city of Kunduz, Afghanistan, Afghan forces have repeatedly claimed that they have the area virtually retaken. The Taliban has shifted tactics, however, and seems to be holding out in much of the city. Officials say the Taliban is suddenly more interested in hit-and-run tactics in Kunduz, attacking troops on motorbike and quickly disappearing into the residential areas, allowing them to harass the troops trying to advance into the city and slowing them significantly. The tactic likely reflects the superior number of Afghan troops and the recent addition of U.S. air power into the area, and is aiming to avoid a quick loss and, by extension, a quick win by the military by delaying and hoping to wear out the Afghan forces, who notoriously have questionable morale and not much training. Kunduz thus remains contested and likely will be for the foreseeable future. Keeping the city soaking up large number of Afghan forces is likely part of the plan for the Taliban, as it takes pressure off their southern holdings and may allow them to expand elsewhere in the country without much resistance. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap and Amazon, at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. That's shop.fppradio.com. UPI reports the U.S. Department of Justice will reportedly release more than 6,000 inmates from federal prison across the country beginning this month due to rising prison populations and punishments now considered unjust that were exacted decades ago on nonviolent drug offenders. The mass release will occur between October 30th and November 2nd, according to officials, and will be the largest one-time prisoner release in U.S. history. The decision is part of an overall plan by justice leaders to get the escalating nationwide prison population under control and provide a respite for nonviolent inmates who have spent, in some cases, decades behind bars due to the overly tough punitive terms handed out by courts during the 1980s and 1990s. The Justice Department has not yet formally announced the plan to release the prisoners. The New York Times cited anonymous sources in reporting the story. Earlier this year, the U.S. Sentencing Commission announced changes to guidelines that eased penalties for nonviolent drug offenders who were subjected to harsh prison terms under different, tougher guidelines in the past. The U.S. Sentencing Commission said in April that its change in guidelines could potentially qualify nearly half of the country's nonviolent drug offenders for early release. For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a Montana judge ruled on Tuesday that one of the drugs planned for use in a lethal injection mix violates state law, effectively putting a hold on executions in the state, which has only 2 inmates on death row. District Court Judge Jeffrey Sherlock said in his ruling, Montana law stipulates that one of the drugs in its lethal injection mix must be an ultra-fast-acting barbiturate, and the current drug intended to play that role, pentobarbital, does not meet the criteria. The decision is unlikely to have an immediate impact in Montana, which has no executions planned and has conducted only 3 since 1976 when the U.S. Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty. The last execution in Montana was in 2006. The judge wrote in the order, the state of Montana is hereby enjoined from using the drug pentobarbital in its lethal injection protocol unless and until the statute authorizing lethal injection is modified in conformance with this decision. A spokesman for the Montana Attorney General's office said that they were studying the decision and would not issue comment on the ruling. Montana's 3-drug lethal injection procedure was struck down about 3 years ago by a state court judge for differing from a 2-drug protocol spelled out in state law. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.